Think you know history's most famous figures? Think again. These legends weren't as squeaky clean as you might think. And trust me, the last story, it's the darkest twist yet. Thomas Edison. Known for inventions like the light bulb, Edison was also a ruthless businessman. He even electrocuted animals to discredit his rivals. He created Hollywood because independent filmmakers fled from his endless lawsuits. His trust was shut down in 1915, but not before he publicly fried a poor elephant named Topsy. Don't Google it. It's disturbing. Henry Ford, a revolutionary businessman but also a huge racist. He enforced segregation and openly supported the KKK. He spread anti-Semitic propaganda and influenced Nazi ideology. Hitler even admired him. Alexander the Great. He's famous for his military conquests, but did you know he drunkenly killed his best friend Cletus? During a banquet gone wrong, they argued, and in a fit of rage, Alexander threw a javelin through his heart. Talk about a party foul. Lewis and Clark. They set off to find a trade route with Clark's slave, York, who played a crucial role. Despite bonding during the journey, when York asked for freedom afterward, Clark refused and punished him instead. A tragic ending for a hero. Napoleon Bonaparte. While he's often celebrated as a military genius, Napoleon also had a darker side. He instituted the Napoleonic Code, which included laws that curtailed women's rights and reinforced male authority. His regime also relied heavily on censorship, suppressing free speech and opposition. Walt Disney, the beloved creator of Mickey Mouse, was also known for his anti-Semitic views. Documents show that Disney was involved in various organizations with questionable beliefs, and he even expressed support for Nazi propaganda early in World War II. George Washington. The first president of the United States is often portrayed as a paragon of virtue, but he was also a slave owner. Washington had over 500 slaves during his lifetime and enforced brutal conditions on his plantations, only freeing them upon his death. Thomas Jefferson. Another founding father praised for his ideals. Jefferson was a slave owner who fathered children with his enslaved woman, Sally Hemings. He maintained a complicated relationship with slavery, promoting freedom while owning and exploiting it himself. Pablo Picasso. While celebrated as a revolutionary artist, Picasso had a history of abusive relationships with women, often treating them poorly and being emotionally manipulative. He famously said, "There are only two kinds of women, goddesses and doormats," reflecting his problematic views on women. Abraham Lincoln. Known for his leadership during the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln held racist beliefs earlier in his life. He initially advocated for the colonization of free Black Americans to Africa, rather than fully supporting their rights in the U.S. Catherine the Great. The powerful Russian empress is often praised for her reforms, but she also had a history of political intrigue and assassination. She eliminated her husband, Tsar Peter III, to take power and was rumored to have numerous affairs, often with younger men. Albert Einstein. The brilliant physicist is revered for his contributions to science, but he had problematic views on race during his early years. In personal travel diaries, Einstein expressed prejudice against people from certain cultures, a stark contrast to his later advocacy for civil rights. Henry VIII, the infamous King of England known for his 6 marriages and a penchant for drama, took keeping your friends close and your enemies closer to a whole new level. This guy was so concerned about potential threats to his reign that he actually brought along his executioner to parties. Because nothing says good vibes like having a guy on standby ready to chop off a head or two, right? While most people invite friends for a good time, Henry made sure his guests were aware that any funny business could lead to a one-way trip to the executioner's block. Talk about a mood killer. But hey, who wouldn't want to enjoy a feast with the constant reminder that any misstep could lead to a rather grim fate? That's just royal hospitality for you. Steve Jobs, the visionary behind Apple and the man who changed how we interact with technology, was also the proud father who famously denied paternity of his first child, Lisa. After all, who needs to claim responsibility when you're busy revolutionizing the tech world, right? Despite overwhelming evidence, including a DNA test confirming his paternity, Jobs initially dismissed any claims that he was Lisa's father, even insisting he was not a deadbeat dad. Classic denial move. It's almost poetic how someone so focused on innovation could completely overlook the responsibilities of fatherhood. But hey, he did eventually come around and recognized her, just like he recognized that a personal computer was a game changer. Talk about a complicated legacy. Mother Teresa, widely regarded as a saintly figure and the poster child for compassion, faced a bit of scrutiny for the quality of care in her missions. You know, the ones where basic medical supplies and hygiene were shockingly absent. Who would have thought? This lack of, say, clean bandages and proper sanitation raised some eyebrow-raising questions about her so-called humanitarian practices. I mean, nothing says loving care like letting patients suffer in less than ideal conditions, right? Marie Antoinette is often remembered as the queen who said, "Let them eat cake," which she probably never actually said. But beyond her lavish lifestyle and penchant for extravagant parties, she also had a serious spending problem that contributed to France's financial woes. While the country was facing economic turmoil, she was out there hosting lavish balls and buying shoes like they were going out of style. It's as if she thought, why worry about the commoners when I can wear my wealth on my feet? Marie's life of excess became a symbol of the monarchy's disconnect from the struggles of ordinary people, leading to some serious backlash. Tsar Nicholas II of Russia is often remembered as the last emperor of Russia, tragically executed during the Russian Revolution. But before that grim fate, he was known for being a bit of a disaster in the leadership department. While his country faced severe hardships, Nicholas preferred to indulge in hobbies like hunting and spending time on his yacht. Imagine the Tsar lounging on a luxury boat while his people were dealing with food shortages and unrest. It's almost as if he thought, who needs to address the peasants when I can practice my golf swing? Unsurprisingly, his inability to connect with the struggles of ordinary Russians ultimately contributed to his downfall, proving that ignoring your problems only works until the mob comes knocking at your door. Countess Elizabeth Bathory, often called the Blood Countess, is infamous for her gruesome reputation as one of history's most prolific female serial killers. While many may think of her as a dark figure shrouded in legend, the truth is far more chilling. Bathory was obsessed with the idea of retaining her youth and beauty, leading her to a bizarre and horrific belief that bathing in the blood of young women would preserve her looks. During the late 16th and early 17th centuries, she reportedly lured hundreds of girls to her castle under the guise of providing them with work, only to imprison and torture them. It's almost as if she thought, why go to a spa when you can have a live-in beauty regimen? Her sadistic practices and lavish lifestyle made her a figure of both intrigue and horror. In the end, instead of being tried for her crimes, she was simply placed under house arrest in her castle, which, let's be honest, sounds like a pretty cushy punishment for someone with such a notorious reputation. Bathory's life proves that sometimes, even those with royal blood can have a real thirst for the macabre. Well, there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour through the scandalous, quirky, and downright bizarre lives of some of history's most famous figures. Who knew that behind those grand titles and iconic legacies were so many secrets? Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and your secrets buried, just like they did.